Welcome to the Women's Health Podcast. I'm Marika Hart from Herasphere.
And I'm Anthony Lowe, the physio detective. Together we interview leading authorities, answer questions, and share our thoughts to provide the general public with the best quality information we can find on all aspects of women's health. Please remember the materials and content on this podcast are intended as general information and for entertainment purposes only.
They are not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Now it's time to get cracking with the episode. So whether you're out walking your dog, driving the kids to school, or just sitting back enjoying a glass of wine, we hope you enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of the Women's Health Podcast. Marika here, and I am very excited to be chatting to Anthony Lowe. Wave Anthony over there, sitting in Detroit with Lisa Ryan. Say hi, Lisa.
Hi.
And we are really excited to have Lisa on the show. We're going to have a big chat about diastasis recti, surgery. We're going to hear all about her story because Anthony and I love hearing about people's experiences. And I think it's really nice for other people going through something similar just to hear someone's story and hear about their journey with that. And I think we as physical therapists, physiotherapists as well, find it really, really helpful so we can hear about the other sides of the story too that we don't always hear when people come into our treatment rooms. But before we chat to Lisa, we're just going to very quickly have a chat, Anthony, because we haven't seen each other for a few months now. So what have you been up to? Where have you been?
It's been busy. The last time we recorded a podcast, I was in America. I was in Wisconsin for the CrossFit Games. So that was the very start of August. So it's been nearly 3 months. So in that time, I taught a new course in Canada. I taught a new course in Perth. This is weekend number 7 coming up out of 8. And I would have been teaching a course 7 out of 8 weekends in a row. So I've been crazy busy. But it's been really
I have great pity for Diane. Your wife must want to kick your butt right now.
Probably. I think she said this morning that she was a bit burnt out the last few weeks, but she doesn't have to do the admin for this tour of 3, so she's just taking it easy, and she's a lot happier with that. But you know, I always say it's nice for me to be around at home, I'm sure, but they probably appreciate when I'm away too, right?
Then she can look forward to your return.
That's right. You don't know what you're missing until it's gone.
I feel like there's a song in that. Excellent. And I've been like ridiculously busy too with all uni stuff and just about to smash out my final exam for the year. Hurrah.
Yes.
Yay. Between that and a new clinic.
Yeah, I've been doing so much good stuff about the Masters at Perth, at Curtin University there. So, not just through you, but like just lots of different sources and people asking about it. It's been really quite interesting. So I'm excited.
I think it's really nice for pulling it all together, doing lots of case studies, and next year I do clinics, and it's just an opportunity to take all the information and actually put it together, all the different options, and looking at how that fits into a multidisciplinary environment and who does what. And it's really good. And this block we've been doing a lot of pediatrics and men's health too. And I started treating, men pre and post prostatectomy and things like that, which is actually it's really interesting. I've not really had anything to do with male patients for over 5 years. It's been very much pre and postnatal. So it's like, oh my God, it's a guy. What do I do with you?
So therefore you know more about male pelvic health than I do already. It's just one of those things that I don't know, I'm in denial about. But and please, you're being modest. Not only are you smashing out a master's whilst taking care of your kids, including schooling, and you started a new work location. Tell us about that.
As I say, yeah, it's not my clinic though, so I don't have to deal with all of the other stuff. Yeah, there's a new clinic in Perth called West Coast
work location.
Yeah. So it's all new. It's called West Coast Health and High Performance. It's part of Body Logic, and it's in Lathlane. So I think some of the super the powerhouses at Body Logic that I get to work with. You know, Judith Thompson, Peter O'Sullivan, JP Canero, and the likes. So there's a lot of awesome people that I can learn from, and I'm very excited to be part of that group.
Yeah, and I think they're privileged to have somebody with your musculoskeletal and sports background as well as women's health working there. So I'm excited. I bridging the gap is something that we all want, and you're in a perfect position to do that. So I'm really excited to see the awesome stuff you're going to be doing with people.
Oh, you're very, very kind. And speaking of women's health stuff, that sort of segues beautifully into our chat with Lisa. Enough about us. We want to talk to you because you're much more exciting. Lisa, can you tell us about yourself? Because I know that you met this big bloke next to you through the CrossFit community. So tell us your backstory and how you became involved in CrossFit and what you do now.
Yeah, so I've been CrossFitting since 2004. So CrossFit is and has been a really big part of my life for a really long time. I started out at one of the very first affiliates that were even ever a thing. Hyperfit USA in Ann Arbor. Doug Chapman opened that years ago, and I think he was one of the first 10 or 11 affiliates ever. And I kind of fell into it because I was doing a boot camp class at Valley Total Fitness and following him around, and he kind of found CrossFit, and I was just following him along, and he was like, do this ball slam, and we're going to do this. I'm like, okay. And the rest is history. So I had my first son when I was in California. We moved to California for 5 years for my husband's work. And I went and did CrossFit out there. And that's when I became competitive because I was at Valley CrossFit at the time. And there was a lot of competitive, now famous CrossFitters that I trained with. And they had me like believe that I could do these things I never thought I could physically do. And I became this fierce regional level competitor out of nowhere. Like, to me, it's out of nowhere. Like, I've been CrossFitting a long time, but they really had built up my skills and my confidence and my mental game to be this competitor for the 4 years I was out there. And so when I got pregnant, I was ready for it. It was right out of regionals, and did CrossFit through my pregnancy, had no clue about what was really happening in my body at all. Modified some stuff. I read somewhere not to do sit-ups second trimester, so I didn't. But other than that, I just kind of went off how it felt, and I wasn't really like crazy pushing anything, but I just, I had no idea. So I had the baby, C-section, non-emergency, planned. It came a couple days earlier, but had a rough recovery, did not go back to the gym for about 2 months. My doctor's like, just wait the full 2 months. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can get on board with that. I walked. The first month was really difficult for me to move. I gained a lot of weight too. And it was really, really hard physically. The second month I could walk a lot more. And then starting to feel a little better. So I went back to the gym, and I had a lot of weight. I gained 55, 60 pounds. And I'm not that big of a person. So I had a lot of weight on me. And noticed that my stomach was sticking out, but figured, well, I have all this weight. And so whenever I lose the weight, then the stomach will go away. And that's all I really thought. So I slowly started getting back to CrossFit. I went slow. I had a PVC pipe. Like, I didn't jump out of the gate like a crazy person. And started to lose some of the weight. And I was like, remember asking my husband, I'm like, well, like, what is this? And he's just like, well, I don't know. Like, once we move back to Michigan and we have more babysitting and you can work out more, you'll probably just like feel better and it'll go away. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. So we moved back here.
So Lisa, the word diastasis recti was never on your radar. It's not something you'd heard of that point.
Nope.
Okay.
And I had during my pregnancy a lot of stretching and uncomfortableness in my belly. Like, it was not comfortable. I was very uncomfortable. So I will remember that. I remember going into teaching in the morning one day, eating my breakfast, and I was just like sitting there, and it was just, ugh. Anyway. So about 8 months later, I slowly lost the weight. And I lost the weight. And I was like, what, this isn't fat. Like I had skin, but what I was feeling wasn't skin. It was hard. It was hard. My stomach was hard. I lost the weight and it was sticking out. And I was like confused. At this point, I was back to CrossFitting a lot. Like I was doing everything. I didn't necessarily get my muscle up back yet. I was just about to start trying for that. But like I was front squatting 165 pounds for 5 reps. And I was doing sit-ups. And I was doing toes to bar. And I was doing all the things, deadlifting, like everything. And I felt okay.
Yeah, you were doing toes to bar as well. That's awesome.
I felt okay. I didn't have pain. I had some back pain, but like I had back pain before. I mean, I don't know. It was just, I felt okay is the point.
Did you feel strong in your abs?
Did you feel like you know, I mean, I'm just trying to remember, because I remember doing sit-ups feeling great specifically. And I don't necessarily remember my toes to bar feeling really bad.
Yeah.
I didn't do them right away. You know, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I just kind of slowly got back to stuff. But yeah, no, I didn't necessarily, like, I didn't feel great, but I was also deconditioned. I just had a baby. So like I expected to feel that, you know, but like by 8 months I felt okay. But then I was like, there's something not right. So here goes the journey of like trying to figure out what this something not right is. I call my OB back in California. She's like, you just need more time. I see my dad's sports doctor who scares the shit out of me and says, I can't have any more kids till I have a surgery. This is terrible. You can't support another child in your body. So I'm crying, driving home, calling people. I'm like, how am I going to have a surgery and take care of this baby? Like, I just can't even. It was so bad. And other people, it was the worst they've ever seen. You know, do this online program. You can heal that. You can heal yourself. You know, these different online programs everyone's telling me. I mean, it was just insane. And the way that I found out that I actually had it was talking to someone, random person I kind of knew in California, who was like, maybe it's this diastasis thing. Well, I'd kind of seen that before, but I laid in bed and I just touched my stomach at rest. And I was like, there's no gaps here. Like, but I wasn't, I didn't know what I was doing. But I was also kind of scared. So I was like, I'm fine. You know, that's not what it is. And then I finally did test the right way after talking to someone I knew. And I was laying on my hardwood floor and my whole hand just like, it just sunk. And I stopped it and I was like paralyzed and I was shaking and I was crying. My husband was asleep because he had a work trip the next morning. And I was just like, it's 10 o'clock at night. My hand just sunk into my body. And all these thoughts are going through my head. Because I'm like, I just knew that stuff at the gym. Like what? Like I could not. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. And then the gut feeling of like, I shouldn't be doing this stuff at the gym anymore. And like, I was just starting to feel good. And so then I had that realization and it was terrible. Even talking about it right now makes me sick.
So Lisa, at that point, you didn't feel broken. Obviously, aesthetically, you weren't happy with how it was looking. You didn't feel quite right, but you didn't feel like...
Not at the gym. No, I didn't. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was at that point hearing that you suddenly were feeling like, this is a disaster.
Yeah, I was scared. I mean, I'm like, I could have touched my organ, like like my organs, and I'm just like, plus I'm a very, medical things creep me out. I'm very creeped out by medical things. I always said if I wasn't so creeped out, maybe I would have been a vet because I really like animals. But anyway, yeah, I don't like any, so doing that was also hard for me personally because I don't like that stuff. So my mom, who was in physical therapy for her back, found this pelvic floor PT because someone was like, you should see this pelvic floor PT. So I'm like, what's a pelvic floor PT and why would I see a pelvic floor PT? I had a C-section. No clue, not a clue. So I see this lady who basically when I had seen her, I went to see her. She was good. I mean, she's like, I'm not going to make any promises, but let's look. Maybe I can help you. So when we went in there, my rectus muscles, because I had been using them, they were actually like pushing out like this way. They weren't even like coming. And they were really hard because I had been using them and they were on the side of my body. Oh God. So anyway, but what I did, I mean, she was a CrossFitter. So she's like, okay, let's back off some things for now. Let's try to get a handle on this. But I didn't really have any idea of ways to do pressure management or anything like that. It was just like, okay, we're not going to kip our pull-ups. We're going to do strict for a while. We're not going to do sit-ups for a while. Let's lower the weights on your lifts. Let's just like try to get everything. So I was like, okay. I just remember walking in the gym and everyone was lifting barbells and I grabbed like 2 blue kettlebells to do like, I don't know, front squats, and I was just crying. I just remember holding them and I was just crying. I was just like, I was clueless. I couldn't have my barbell. Like, it was terrible. Anyway, so I saw this pelvic floor PT for about 2 or 3 months. She did a lot of work on my actual like to try, like she kind of settled them down, tried to get them to like move. I don't know what exactly actually happened. I do know that my stomach did look a little bit better after she got some of those muscles to like, I don't know. Who knows what really happened.
So was that like a massage kind of technique?
She did. She tried to release them, you know what I mean? Because they were hard and they were here. And then she just did a lot of, she did visceral stuff. She was just trying anything. You know what I mean?
For the people who are listening to the podcast, Lisa is using her hands to talk, which is very Lisa. And she's pulling on the side of her body
like
where the
this.
obliques are to show the oblique releases in inverted commas that was being done to her.
Yeah. So at the time, it was good for me because I felt like someone had somewhat of a clue of something and could tell me that I could at least go to the gym, even though it wasn't what I was exactly doing. And like I could, okay. So we did that for a while. Then she did get me back doing sit-ups, which she kind of like hold my rectus together. We kind of like do a sit-up. She had me doing planks, but like, she did a lot of work on my actual body. But then after about 2 or 3 months, she was like, all right, well, your rectus muscles are at least coming in now. She's like, go slowly back and do your CrossFit. I still did not have an idea I would pay money because I don't know what the fascia was like. I just want to know. Like, I want to know how much worse the second pregnancy made it or if it didn't, or just, you know, I just wish I had all the data. But, I do know actively at that point I could get it to about a 3, 2.5. Before it was like 9 or 10, and that's her fingers. So again, this is not measured with, you know, real data. At rest, I don't know what I was. She never looked at me at rest, and I don't know what it was even after she did stuff. But she sent me back to CrossFit. So I did CrossFit for a while until I got pregnant again. When I went back to CrossFit, I was a little fearful at first, but then I just went, okay? And for the most part, I felt very good. I was PRing a lot of my workouts, like testing workouts in CrossFit. There's the names of these workouts for those of you that don't CrossFit. And I was doing them faster than when I was competing and training a lot more. Because I think it was mostly up here because I just wanted it and I could go to that pain cave because I just wanted to feel good again. And it was great. Like, it was a good time of training for me. But there are certain things that I felt were off limits. So I was like, I'm not getting out of GHD. I felt like I couldn't do L-sits anymore, so I just never did them. And I was really scared about deadlifting over a certain weight. So I was deadlifting at about 265 is the heaviest I went. I know that can sound heavy, but I was used to deadlifting over 300. But I was afraid I was going to get a hernia. I was scared of my stomach, and there was a huge mental block with that deadlift. So I was kind of stuck at that weight. But all of my other lifts, like my back squat got pretty close to where I used to be. I also was training last, so I didn't expect to be as strong, but I felt good overall. Muscle ups were back. Trying to think. I did sit-ups. I did, my hollow holds were okay, but in my mind I was like, I can't do this very well because my stomach's not right. So that was another kind of funny thing. I think that's it. So yeah, so then I got pregnant with my second, and in the meantime I had met Bree Battles, and she was running around California trying to figure out her own stuff, and we're like, oh, my PT said visceral manipulation, try to find someone that does visceral, maybe they can help, and we were just like crazy people running around everywhere. Well, at that point, Bree had started finding other people. So she had found Julie Weeb first, and then that kind of snowballed into finding everybody else eventually. But she was like, oh, there's these strategies and there's these things. And she told me about it a couple months before I got pregnant, but I didn't want to hear it because I just wanted to work out. I was so sick of like taking step backs. I was like, I don't want to know if there's anything else out there. I just don't want to know. I wasn't ready for it. Yep. I was like, la, la, la. Plus I had been through the ringer, so I just wasn't ready. When I got pregnant again, I was like, okay, give it to me. Pregnant. Let's do this. As soon as I got the positive pregnancy test, I didn't do toes to bar. I lowered my weights. I tried to play around with some of that pressure management stuff and kind of learn it while I was pregnant. So I'm like, this is a great time. So I did CrossFit my pregnancy again. It just looked a little bit different. It was good. Then I had a second C-section. And I was like, okay, my belly's going to be what it is because I was ready for it. Because, you know, I gained less weight the second pregnancy, but that belly was, do we have a picture flash up here? I mean, it was just like really just, and I could feel it. And I was just, it was concerning the whole pregnancy. I mean, the tissue just
Lisa, in your experience, because like a lot of people I find if they have diastasis of the first pregnancy, and I usually warn them, like your second pregnancy, you're going to pop really early.
Oh,
like you're going to be really pregnant quickly. Was that the experience for you as well?
Yeah. Well, my stomach was already sticking out. So by 4 months, I looked 6 months pregnant. I mean, it was insane. Yeah. So I did take pictures of that. And I knew it would happen. I was, you know, I was kind of ready for it. But yes, very, very much. But you know, I was still on my own kind of like, and when I did the podcast when I did a previous podcast, I was saying that, I was like pregnant and breathing out when I was picking up a piece of paper from the ground. Because I was just like, I'm going to freaking pressure management this body till I can't do it anymore. Because I was like, just wanted to control, because I felt like I had no control for so long. Then I was put through the ringer, all this stuff. I was like, so I was ready to control it all. I was insane. Like looking back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh. But anyway, but I was alone. You know what I mean? Like I was just alone. Like, so Bree came out here. I flew her out here to do a workshop at the gym I was coaching at the time. And I was seeing my first PT again, who's a lovely lady, who's actually my friend, and I know her. But, and somehow I just didn't have a good handle on what was really going on with my stomach. And Bree's like, you need to get another opinion. She felt my stomach, great poker face, by the way, because looking back on it now, I laugh. But she's like, you need to feel something. So I'm trying to find a different PT to get another answer. I was going to fly to Chicago, fly back in the same day. I had this baby and 6 months, and I'm just like trying to figure this out. Because I had been like working out, pressure managing myself, doing what I can, feeling okay, but like I needed professional help, okay? So in the meantime, by the grace of God, I find the PT that I have now through someone else who had another PT that was like 3 hours away, that was a business partner, but she was 38 weeks pregnant, and I'm sweating and I'm trying to get out there before she has a baby, and I'm like crying. And then she's like, oh, I have this business partner in Ann Arbor, and I'm crying. So Nancy books me in at the end of her day. She opens up a spot, and she just looked at my whole body, like just understood CrossFit. She's like, okay, we're going to progress you back. And I just felt like I had a plan, which for someone like me is really important. Like I have a plan and there's next steps. I wasn't exactly that happy about my situation, but I was like, fine. I knew probably surgery could be an option, but I was like, I'm not going to do surgery right now. So I want a plan, and then we'll see what happens with the surgery thing. So I was going to California to visit my friends, and I went to see Julie Weeb. So that was like the next thing, but I wasn't going to see her till over a year postpartum. I wanted to see someone before that. So I worked with Nancy up to that point, went to see Julie. We kind of like played around with some different breathing things. It was fun. She kind of confirmed surgery would be great for me, which made Nancy feel better. She wanted to be the only one saying that. And it was good. Cue 18 months later, where I'm like still doing burpees on my knees, on ab mats, and like just still, I progressed, but like really modifying the CrossFit stuff thinking I would never do a toe to bar or a muscle up or anything like that till after surgery. And like playing the mental games with myself, like, all right, well, the longer I go, the better it's going to feel. Like, I'm just going to keep at this. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing. Because I wasn't going to have surgery until 2.5 years post second kid. So I had some time to go till surgery.
So 18.
So was that a time frame that you'd put in your head, or was that a time
I wanted
frame?
to wait for surgery mostly for my son to be older, but also I wanted to see what I could do and what I could heal. And I know tissues can take a long time, a year, 2 years. Like I just wanted I wanted to exhaust all my stuff. So I felt really good about, okay, when Dean's 2.5, I'm going to do it. So that was always kind of my plan. At 18 months is when Bree was like, Lisa, she's like, you need to stop doing burpees on your knees. And this was like sometime in the spring-ish. And she had gone to Anthony's course that December. And she had kind of told me some stuff about Anthony's course, like she did about when she said Julie, but I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Like she was just like, well, what's the story? I'm just like, yeah, okay. Like I just, you know what I mean? Like just wasn't there. Wasn't ready for it. I was in my safe workouts. Nancy was helping me progress, trying to get rid of some of the doming, coning, tenting, whatever the heck my stomach was doing.
You had your plan. You didn't want someone to come along and
no, because I felt this is the first time I felt safe. I wasn't exactly 100% happy, but I felt safe and I was happy enough. And I just felt in control. So I was just like, Well, at 18 months, Bree was like, this is ridiculous. Just like, so then I think I had messaged you. I had a question about surgery first, about the sewing too tight in surgery. So I started going down the surgery road of like, I was doing consults. I was really nervous. And so he'd answered that. And then I decided to do some kipping pull-ups. And I took a video. And that was because of Bree. And then I was like, well, physio detective always says do something different. So I'm going to try these kipping pull-ups. So I remember doing them. And I remember feeling so good when I did them. And I looked at the video and I was just like, shit. Like it looked terrible. And I was like, it felt so good. And then the suspected hernia that I had at my umbilicus, which was not a hernia, it was just really thin fascia, apparently, that Nancy was in the surgery, so you could like see through it, was hurting the next day because I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You know, I had pain there. I mean, it was just like, I was just like, oh man, I don't know. So then at some point, I don't know how I booked the consult. If it was off of that post, or I don't know how did I ask you to do the consult and schedule it?
Mm-hmm.
I did. Okay, so I was ready. I was like, okay, let's do it. So, So Nancy was in the consult with me, and then my friend Katie, who is now a pellet 4 PT, but before was just a pregnancy postpartum athleticism coach. So she was in the consult. So maybe there was like, 19 months at that point, post second kid.
It was June last year. June 2018.
June last year, yeah. And surgery was going to be April the following year. And I think another reason too I did that is because I was like, I really wanted, like, there was something inside, before Bree even said that, I would hear myself sometimes say, am I really not going to do a toe to bar until after surgery? Like, it didn't feel right, but I wouldn't let it in because I'd been so traumatized with all these horrible things. And the same thing, I'm like, am I really not going to do a muscle up until after surgery? Like, the thought had crossed my mind a few times, and it didn't necessarily feel right, but like I didn't listen to it. Nancy and I had the plan.
Lisa, did you have any, in terms of your thought processes at that time, did you have any thought that you were to blame for what had happened? Like, did you feel that you'd done the wrong things before that?
Oh, I was on the vigilante writing blogs about, I was doing sit-ups. Now, I will say I did make myself worse postpartum. Like, I could have done other things and like been in a better place given that. But I look back at, I know, well, maybe not. That's true. But I mean, anyway, but the point is, I thought the stuff I did during pregnancy did it. I thought the stuff I did postpartum did it. Like, I thought maybe I wouldn't be in this situation if I didn't do those things for a while, you know?
I can imagine that would really hold you back as well, because you're thinking,
It was so bad.
oh my God, if I did this and this is what happened.
Oh, yeah. And I was fear-mongering other people for a little while, you know, because I was so upset. I wanted to happen to other people. So I was in that fear-mongering, like, you know.
Save. I will save everyone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We've all done that. Don't worry.
Now I always make sure to tell people, like, I could have sat around and ate bonbons and, like, this would have happened in my pregnancy. Like, you know. But yeah. So that was hard. That was really hard. But you know what ended up, well, anyway, we did the consult. I'll come back to the body stuff in a second. But so I did the consult with Anthony, and like 2 hours this turned into, oh my God.
1 hour consult turned into 2 hours.
Oh my God. Like I felt 100% broken. And by the time I had gotten there.
Not by the end.
Not by the end. In the beginning, going into the consult. No. But yeah,
was this online or in person? Was this in person or online, the consult?
Online.
It was online. Yeah. We had Katie holding the camera, Nancy touching my stomach. I mean, we had a good little team going on. But, you know, like I was terrified to lift my legs. I mean, I was like paralyzed with fear in the beginning. But I mean, by the end, I mean, we went through, I mean, we did GHD sit-ups. We did all the things I felt like I couldn't do during that time in between the pregnancies. So GHD sit-ups, the L-sit, we did an L-sit pull-up, which I couldn't believe I did. And a bunch of ab stuff. But he also kind of explained to me, showing my abs, like some of that pop and pressure was just coming up to the, whatever you call it.
The level of the bony attachment.
Yeah, the bony. Yeah, and I was like, oh. Like it made so much sense to me. Yeah, and so then, I mean, by the end of that, I don't know how many times I cried in this damn thing. But by the end of that, like, he's like, okay, I want your muscle up back, because I was going to his thing in July in 6 weeks, his Philly course. He's like, so I want your muscle up back by then so you can do a muscle up there. I was like, oh shit. But yeah, I went back to the gym and I just started kipping my pull-ups and I just started doing toes to bar, and like it all felt good. I mean, it felt better than it's feeling right now post-surgery, because post-surgery I still have weird surgery feelings that I get sometimes. But like it felt so great. I mean, I didn't feel weak. I didn't have pain. And then that whole pain in my belly button thing, I realized a couple of weeks later that never came back. Never came back. Like I didn't even think about it until a couple weeks later. I'm like, oh, I don't have that pain anymore. And then came the whole like, okay, what else do you want me to do? And I used myself as a test case. Like, what can I do before surgery to get as strong as shit to like prove that like you can do this, and move in all these different ways and see what my stomach does and film it. And like, it was so fun. Like that was probably one of the best, like after this whole thing, like those months were probably like one of the most like special times for me, because I felt free. I felt like I was helping people. I felt like I could learn stuff. I felt like even Anthony could learn things because he wanted to see what my belly could do. Like I felt like I was helping all the people, and I felt like I could do all the things at the gym, and it just like turned into this great thing. So yeah.
And if I remember correctly, Lisa, you were just giving you a chance to take a breath. You were recording a lot of this on Instagram, right? Like I sort of remember some videos that you've been putting up through this time, just showing what your amazing body could do.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. So then came the spiraling surgical panics. Which is the next part of the story. But before we get to that, I said this when I told my story at the Female Athlete, there's a very weird line when it comes to body positivity that women deal with after babies, because we have this movement of body positivity, which is so needed, right? Which isn't the whole, like, it doesn't look like you had a baby, yay, like, celebrate the stretch marks and you had a baby and be happy and all these things, which is good. Like that is a good and positive thing. However, then women that get an abdominoplasty or do get some kind of work done because of the change of their body with baby are feel a lot of shame about that, which is also not good because everyone's hiding and not getting support for a major surgery. So it's like we have to have a balance of, yes, we want to have body positivity, but we also don't want to shame women if they decide that they do want to get some kind of surgery done. Now, see, no one shames me because they look at my belly and they're like, oh, well, of course she's going to get surgery. And I could totally frame it and that it was totally medical because my fascia is really thin. And when I get older, I don't want my organs hanging out of my body and But like, yeah, that's part of it. But like, that's not the whole thing. I didn't want to look like that. I wanted to wear my clothes. I'm a fit person. Like, I don't want this belly. But I try to like explain this in my posts, and I it's very hard to explain. It's like I used to hate my body. I hated my belly. I had great disdain for it. I went from that to loving my body again in a way that I never thought was possible because of what it could physically do. But I still didn't like the way it looked. And there's like a difference. So I feel like women will rush into the surgery because they're so disgusted with their bodies. And that's when either they don't have the right support or they don't have the right surgeon or they're just mentally like, and it just makes me sad because it doesn't mean they shouldn't get the surgery, but I want them to go into the surgery feeling empowered versus disempowered and feeling like I have to get the surgery because I'm disgusting.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, we could probably dive into that for a while, but it's
tough.
You know, I think anyone putting any kind of pressure on women to have surgery or to not, or
yes,
to say that, you know, to have it for these reasons is right versus these reasons is wrong. It's just another way that people restrict women's options, put more pressure on them, and put expectations on them that they should either look a certain way or that they shouldn't want to look a certain way. And you know, it's like, hang on, if I want to look a certain way and I have my reasons, that's no one else's business. And it's okay to want to maybe have an abdominoplasty for aesthetics reasons, and it's no one else's business. And I'm with you on that. But I also hear what you're saying about the approach to surgery and being in the mental space that you don't want to be going in absolutely hating everything about your body. And is that something that the surgical team talk to patients about? Like, you know, is there someone that you want to talk to, like a psychologist or a counselor? Is this a route that is commonly discussed?
I had 3 consults. Nope. No. And I cried in the first one because I just didn't know what I was getting into. I wrote a whole blog about it, like what to expect for people too, like in my in one of my things, because I'm pretty, at this point I was a pretty confident person, you know, and it was just the whole taking the naked picture of his stomach, you know, and then just like they're just looking and it was just like I was just like, you know what I mean? Like and the first one didn't really understand CrossFit, and so that was really hard for me. I'm trying to explain to him. And he didn't, like, he was trying, but he didn't get it. And then I didn't feel like someone understood me, and that made it worse. And he was very nice. It was a horrible experience. It was horrible. But it was also the first one, so then I could kind of be like, okay, this is kind of what to expect type of thing. But there was never any counseling about how are you doing? You know, I don't know. Just nothing.
It's a tissue, let's fix it.
Yeah. I mean, they had the tissues ready. I think a lot of women cry in there. I felt kind of cliche.
or normal.
I mean, I cry all the time. I have no problem with crying, but there's something about crying in the plastic surgeon's office. I left. I was like, man, I feel so cliche. Then it made me more upset. I don't know.
I deadlift 200 pounds.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. I tried to explain that to him, too.
So tell us about your lead up to the surgery, like in the sort of weeks leading up to it.
Yeah. So,
there's a lot of little giggles going on between you two. It's like this, you know, little story.
Well,
should we say it?
Well, there was a lot of talking off the ledge, shall we say.
Yeah. Listen, I could not trust anybody. It was so hard for me to trust anyone at this point. On top of the fact My job right now, along with learning along with Bree's program and starting to work with pregnant postpartum women as a new part-time career, is that I'm hearing the horror stories. Women share their horror stories with me about everything. And I want that because I want to be that year and I want to be. But at the same time, it's like I knew there was too much of that. And then I delved into the abdominoplasty world, which is horror story central in these groups, which I stopped following. But the failed repairs, on top of the misinformation, like I had to get out of there because I'm like, this is not a healthy place for me to be. But, in my mind, I'm like, what if I get a prolapse from the surgery? What if I start leaking from the surgery? Diane Lee, in one of her things, said something about they sew them too tight. So I was obsessed with that for months. Like I tried to talk to my doctor about it. And he's like, no, I can't sew you too tight. I'm like, well, can he? And he doesn't just think it. So I need to talk to somebody. And it was just insane. So I did this 3 consults. I find my guy, okay? So Julie Fouché, who's a big CrossFitter, is a friend of mine. She had some connections to University of Michigan plastic surgery. I got the names of these people. He was at the top from someone that actually worked with him that she knew. So I was like, great, I'm going to go see this one. He understood athletics. He understood athletic women. He told me I was his dream candidate. He would love to do the surgery. He doesn't need to sell himself. He has like the chief plastic surgery of the University of Michigan. And he's like this well-regarded, whatever guy. So I was like, okay, he's my guy, but I still didn't completely trust him yet. I went back 3 different times with a list of questions. I asked Anthony for questions. I found other questions. I talked to people. It was typed lists of questions. He was fine with it. He loved it. He's like, oh, this is great. It's like, let's do it. Super great guy. But I still was like, oh my God, he said he can't sew me too tight. And then I asked him about the rectus muscles, if they're overlapping or not, because I was obsessed about that. He's like, no, I just bring them together. And then I got home and I'm like, we're bringing them together. Does that mean they're touching or not touching? This is me all the time. So then once in a while, I'll message Anthony about the rectus muscles or some other thing. And then he'd talk me off the ledge and calm me back down, and then I'd be okay for a little while, and then something else would come up. So it was just like that for a while. But I finally booked the surgery. I had to book 6 months out because he also travels and does a lot of research. So he's not always just doing surgeries. He does a bunch of stuff. And so it wasn't until about maybe a month before the surgery that I finally was like, this surgeon's really good and I should trust him. Literally a month before surgery.
This guy knows his stuff.
Yeah. And I knew it, but I still didn't trust him. Because Diane Lee said you shouldn't put the rectus muscles too close together. And I was just so scared. So what else did I ask him? Oh, I had so many questions. Oh my gosh. I have them all on my blogs. They were good questions. Yeah. I found I wasn't concerned about some other things like other women were, they can do drain or drainless procedures. For me, it was I will do whatever procedure of the doctor that I trust. I don't care. Drains are a pain. I had the drains, but I don't care if they're a pain if it's the right doctor. I don't care. But some women really cared about that and wanted the drainless or certain other things. But for me, it was all about my function. I also told them, I was like, if you need to sew me where I'm not completely flat for me to be more functional, that's fine. I made it very clear that my function was the top priority in any decision he makes with my stomach. I'm like, if you open up my stomach and I'm out, it's you need to make a call. I was like, just remember, I just want function over anything else. He's like, what do you think I'm going to find in there? An old watch?
Did you take in a video of the stuff that you do in CrossFit and say, look, can you see this? This is what I need to be able to
watch
do.
It while you're doing the surgery. Oh man. Oh, it's so funny now that I'm fine. But it wasn't really funny at the time. I was really nervous. And I bring the list because he was a very nice man who had a very great bedside manner, who understood CrossFit and talked to me about snatching. And his daughter went to school with Julie, so there was like some kind of a personal connection. But I still would get nervous. I get so nervous. I'm like, this is just a person. Like, I felt like my life, my whole athletic career was in this man's hands every single time. I'd be sweating. Anyway.
And then tell us about the surgery. How did it go? What did he do? What did he say after?
So he, the way he did my surgery was he used, because there's different ways they can do the sutures, right? So he used a permanent suture, and he did the corset sewing. So he, it's all connected. And then he did do a second layer because when I sat up, I was still bulging. So he did another layer. And he took off tons of skin, like over a pound of skin. There was no hernia, which saved me money. There was no technical hole, which was the best news I could have received. And I had to ask Jared again because I thought it was just the drugs. And he was like, I didn't believe that really happened. So I saved us $4,000. Yeah, that was still so exciting. And he just, he took the fascia in the rectus and he's like, I just brought it together. It's like, okay, there's a resident in there with him because U of M's a teaching hospital, but he's like, if there's anything I don't like, I will fix it. But Nancy, my PT, watched the surgery, which was another nerve-wracking thing, praying that she could get in there. It's a university hospital. Like, there's all the rigmarole with that. And she really wanted to watch it. And so she was there. And I remember wheeling me in. And I was like, I just needed that. Oh my God, that morning of, I was like, give me the anxiety medicine. Like, please God, shoot me up with the anxiety medicine. I was such a mess. And anyway, so they wheeled me in there and I was already like, and the first person I saw was Nancy. And I was just, it felt so good that the first person I saw was Nancy, who's like such a good friend of mine now too. And I was just like, oh my God. But anyway, she said that, what did she say? Yeah, that my fascia was like, you could see through it in that part. So she saw all that. But yeah, and I think he says he folds over the fascia or something because they got to like bring it together. So I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So skin, no lipo, sutures, hip to hip incision. So, and that was it. It was like an hour and a half.
Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of freezing. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Really fast.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah. He had music on in there and everything. Like he was a really good surgeon. So he was a really good surgeon.
And how long were you in hospital for?
Oh, they sent me home same day, which I was like, it was the outpatient facility that I was in. I know. Now, consult one said, I think for you, I would keep you in the hospital. He's like, yeah, it'll be a little bit extra money, but looking at how much money you're spending already, he's like, it'd probably be worth it just to stay. And then U of M, that just really wasn't an option. But then someone had mentioned, like, you know what, why don't you just hire a nurse, go home and hire a nurse. That way you're home, you're not in the hospital. So my dear friend Marcy from the gym, who's a nurse, stayed the first night with me at my parents' house, which I needed. My parents were too old to be taking care of me all night. Like, I needed constant care. Like, I don't know how anyone would go home and not have constant care all night. She took care of my medicine. She helped me with, I don't even know what happened. I was half out of it. So that was the best decision. I always tell people that if they want to send you home, like, just to hire a nurse if they're nervous about that.
So this is major abdominal surgery, done as day surgery, sent home.
Oh, sent home. I was home by like 3:00. Surgery.
That's
interesting. You called me, didn't you? You called me.
Did I call you in the car ride home?
No,
I think I talked to you the day after.
Was it the day after?
Yeah, because the day of, I was in bad shape. I think it was like, no, I think it was the third day.
And what was your pain like?
It was horrible. I mean, coming home in the car, all I remember was sitting like this. And then, I don't know. Like, I remember it more a little bit after the first day. The first day was, I only slept in like hour segments. I was uncomfortable.
She was uncomfortable whenever she spoke to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, I would take a C-section over that any day. And they take
I was thinking, I had a client who had a somewhat similar surgery recently, and I think she was in hospital for 4 days. So
I still can't believe they send you home. I still can't believe they send you home. Like it's nutty to me, but it was fine.
And you had a really good setup too, right? Like,
yeah, I had a lift chair. I was at my parents'. I was not with the kids. You know, the motorized one. So I was just trying to lay there and not do anything. I let that help me get me up. I could sit down and go to the bathroom myself, which was a relief. I didn't know how that would be. My parents had like walkers and everything for me. I didn't need the walker, which was good. I felt all right. I can walk and go to the bathroom. Like, we're okay. But yeah, I mean, the first 2 weeks were just terrible. And I just literally laid in a chair and I tried not to do anything.
And was that mostly because of the discomfort, or was it also a bit of fear?
It was just mostly discomfort.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, this is probably better. But this is the funny story that I love thinking about when we talk about pain. So I've had, when I was competing, I had low back pain. When I had my major separation, my back pain got worse because I'm like, well, of course I have back pain. My abs are separated, like when I'm walking around. I worked with Nancy. I got a lot of that pain to go away. We worked on some alignment things and everything, but, you know, looking back, I think the biggest thing was just I was feeling better and more confident. I could kind of relax and everything, you know. But like I got a lot of that to go away. And then when I got strong as shit doing stuff again, I just felt better, you know, like my abs were stronger and whatever. But so I was hunched over for extremely hunched over for 3 weeks, but for almost 5 weeks. Because even up to week 5, I'd wake up and I'd be like, I'm straight. And an hour later, I'd be hunched over again. And I started getting scared, like, oh shit, should I be straightening up? Am I going to be hunched over forever? Like, I really was starting to like really worry. But the funny thing about it is those first 2 weeks when I was in the lift chair, you'd think I had no low back pain. Now, I wasn't walking around a ton, but even when I was, like, I was so in just, bleh. But I really had no back pain. I look back and I was like, I had no back pain sitting in there. I thought I was going to have horrible back pain sitting in the chair and doing all this stuff. Nope.
How did you feel about your tummy in the weeks following the surgery? I ask this because I find sometimes after hernia surgery or abdominal surgery, there's sometimes almost like a bit of a disconnect and a feeling like that's not my abdomen. I don't connect with that anymore. I don't know whose that is. And it's like a really overwhelmingly and sometimes emotional experience.
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, the first 2 weeks were kind of like survival. And I came back to my house. I had a sitter here for the 3rd week, but I was here. And I started to kind of like, you know, the drains were out. Like I tried to like, I don't know. I tried to like be okay, but like the first time I took a shower, I didn't shower for 2 weeks because I was scared to take off my compression. Like I was terrified. When I shower, I almost passed out the first time I showered because I took it off and then like things kind of expanded and I was just scared to stand without it. I was scared to sit without it. My parents had like in the shower, they have like a stool thing because they're getting older. So I sat on that to take my shower. But it was a horrible experience. It was really, really bad. And I just felt like I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like I couldn't relax my stomach, but it needed to relax. And it was just bad. And then I was like, is this how I'm always going to feel when I take a shower? And the next couple of showers weren't very good. And then they started to get better, where I took it off and I would sit and I could be like, oh, it's off, but I'm okay. I would take my shower. But I really avoided touching my belly for a long time. So there was that too, which didn't help.
what about missing your belly?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I missed my old belly because I freaking do stuff. Like, and I knew that would happen, but I was just like, you know, like I missed feeling okay. And it's like when I took off I had to take it off after 2 days because I had to change, what did I have to do?
Dressings?
Oh, yes. They wanted me to like just wash everything down like a little bit and then put it back on, which I did not want to do, but we did it. And when I took it off, he's like, it's going to be bruised. It's going to look bad. I took it off. It looked really great. Like better than I expected. I was prepared for it to look terrible. And I took a picture of it. It's on my Instagram. And I was like, this looks really good. And like, I was happy, but I wasn't that happy. Like everyone wanted me to be happier than I was with the way it looked on day 2 or 3. Because I was like, wow, what's going to be to come if it looks like this now, you know? Like, but I just felt so shitty. Like, just like, it just, you know, so, yeah.
Where was I? I think I was in San Francisco. Was I in San Francisco?
You were in San Francisco for the female athlete with Bree and Haley, all them, shortly after surgery. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember talking to you at the time. And
So what's been happening since then, Lisa? Like, how are you feeling about it? How's your strength? What's your exercise regime? So we're now how many months post?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah. So I saw Nancy at once I got my clearance from the doctor, which I could have gotten at 6 weeks, but I went like 7.5 weeks. And then I saw Nancy like the day after that, and we were like, all right, let's just start moving. So we decided I was doing some body weight workout stuff. She did some scar work on me, things like that. Just touched my belly. We tried to it was really hard for me to connect back to my breathing or anything that was going on in there. Really disconnected. So we did some subtle things like that to try to be able to reconnect, which was really cool because I did so much rehab and PT stuff before with TA and breathing, and then Auntie made me breathe in all the ways. We do all these things that I felt like that went actually pretty quickly because I knew how it could feel. I also knew how disconnected I was from my belly before too. I've been through it once, just in a different way because I was disconnected to it before and scared to touch it before. So it was cool because all of that stuff went fast, which was encouraging. I was like, okay.
Your brain was like, I know this.
All right.
I can do.
Okay, but I was still very worried. Am I gonna just in my mind, I was like, until I do a toe to bar, I'm gonna be worried that I'm not okay. I know that's silly. Well, that's exactly what I thought the whole time. So anyway, I did body weight workouts at home. I started back really slowly at about 8 weeks. Went back to the gym at I didn't go to the gym for the first 2.5 weeks. I just worked out at home because I just didn't want to be in the atmosphere yet. And then I went back at about 10 weeks. And then I just modified. I did burpees to a bench. I wore my surgery compression for a while. I wasn't ready to take it off at the gym. And then finally I took it off and went to a lighter compression. It was just a very slow process for me. But I needed it to be that way because in my mind, I don't care how long this would take. I needed end game to be I just want to work out and not fucking think about my body anymore for the past 5 years. That's all I want. And so I was just to take my time and set myself up really well so I can come back and do the things I want to do. That was my goal.
Did your surgeon give you any guidelines as to what you could and couldn't do, or just said, right, go with your physio? And
so he knew I was working with Nancy. And when I went in for my clearance, he said, yep, just start back at it, slow. And he basically explained progressive overloading to me. You're going to start running and you're going to run 200 and see how it feels. He talked my language, you know what I mean? But he's dynamic stuff, snatching and things, you might want to hold off on that for a little while. I'm like, man, you see why I went with a surgeon. It's okay, yeah, cool, I got that, all right. So, but yeah, that was it. He was great. So.
And you hit 6 months post-surgery yesterday,
Yesterday. Right? So I knew I would see this guy at 6 months because a female athlete was coming to Detroit, which was planned a long time ago. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to take it really slowly and safely up until 6 months, because 6 months is a long time. In my mind, I'm like, it hasn't been a long time. But I'm like, 6 months is. I'm like, and that'll be the perfect time for me to then get out of my comfort zone and like do the things I'm scared to do, because he'll make me do it. So that was my plan all along. That was my plan all along. Well, not make me do it. Make me do anything. I wanted to do it. So, so that had been my plan all along. Although I did progress faster than I thought I would within those 6 months. Like I thought in my mind, oh, I'm not going to be doing like, I don't know, certain things. And then Nancy had me getting on the ground, doing more ab work than I thought I was going to be doing sooner than I would. Like, it went better than I thought it would go, given at 5 weeks I wasn't even standing up straight. And I'm like, holy shit, like, what is this going to be, you know? But then one day I just woke up and I was straight, and I was straight all day. Like, literally, one day I woke up, I was straight in the morning, and then as the day went on, I'm like, I'm still straight. And then I was just straight. Like, it's just such a funny thing. But yeah, so we did all the things in one day.
And how do you feel?
All the things.
Describe it.
I did.
We start
with a strict pull-up. He's like, just do a strict pull-up. So I did one.
She hadn't been doing it until then.
I did nothing. Yeah, I've done ring rows. I've done some banded pull-ups just in the last couple weeks. But I put a band there. I knew I could do it without the band, but I was just like, trying to look at the belly and manage my pressure, you know, like taking it slow, and which is good. But so yeah, I did a strict pull-up. Then I wanted to get the kips, so we did a few smaller kips, bigger kips. Then I got the kip and pull-up. This was all in a matter of like 3.5 minutes. So then we went to the toes bar, and then we got, you know, I did a couple swings, and before I know it, my toes were at the bar. So I did a few of those, and it didn't feel that bad. I get this burning a lot from the nerves, and I know the surgeon tells me you're going to have burning, you're going to have stabbing. Like, I love how he explains it. Just do it, you know. But it's concerning, because it's like, what's this? I know it's like the nerves and all these things that move around, but it's just like, it is a concerning feeling when your stomach is burning and you're doing something. But the feelings I had during those things were not any different than when I was doing ab work on the ground, very intentional, or anything else I was doing. So I was like, okay, like, it's not any worse than that, so I'm fine.
When we took it away too, with just putting your hand on.
Yes. Yeah, because when I'm trying to fix my Olympic lifting, because I've been going on a belly for 5 years, and I've been doing a lot with just the barbell. And so when I do my triple extension or like into my high pull, I'll get the burning sometimes. I'm like, when I'm here. But I did it. Andy just put his hand here, and I did it, and it went away. So it showed me that it's just the sensations. Like, I'm not ripping anything apart or pulling anything, or, you know, but.
So how do you feel today?
Well, I did toes to bar in the workout today. So I'm like.
You should tell the story of what I did.
So, of course, today toes to bar is a program in the gym. Shit, it's a workout with toes to bar. You know, should I only do 6 of the 12? You know, I'm like talking myself through my head and all these things. And he's like, no. He's like, you're going to do the 12. He's like, you're just going to do sets of 3. I'm like, okay. And then go from there. It was an 8-minute workout. So I got through 4 rounds of the toes to bar plus like 2 extras. So I'm like, okay. So he's like, you're fine. I'm like, okay, that's a good plan. And then the rest, there was wall balls and kettlebell swings after that. So we're getting ready to start the workout, and he walks away. And I knew he didn't have a consult yet until 1. And it was like 12:30 or something. And I'm like, oh, he's going to come back before the workout and like check on me and make sure, see how I'm doing. Like, yeah. Okay, like, you know, and we start, he doesn't come back. And I'm like, and I knew it. I'm like, I'm starting to figure this out. I'm like, he didn't come back on purpose.
Yeah.
Because he was to show me, like, I don't need anyone to sit there and watch
my toes. Gone.
I'm fine. Oh, God, it was so funny. So I did my sets of 3. It went fine. I could have done more the first set, but I didn't. Once I got in the groove of the workout, I felt like myself, like it was, and then I got tired towards the end, but it was just because I hadn't done them. Like, so that was good. And then after I was really nervous, I was like, can you check my stomach? Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like I'm like, is something off or, you know, whatever. And so then he finally, I hadn't even touched my stomach. Like, I touch it all the time standing up. Like, I try to, because it's like swollen. I try to like reconnect by like touching it more so I'm not so freaked out by it. But he had me do a double leg lift and touch my stomach, which I have not done. Like, I have not felt it. And I was like, oh, shit, that's my stomach. Like, it was like rock hard. I'm like, what is this? Like, this is insane. He's like, you're fine. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Whoa.
She was very worried that she thought she might have stretched it a bit more.
Oh
She's
God,
like, I don't know. It feels kind of weird. And it's like, you've just done a workout. And it was like, you got 4 reps. She did 50 toes to bar. And
What?
Yeah, in the workout. And she'd done toes to bar on like, what day was it that I turned up?
Friday was
on the
the day.
Friday.
I did 3.
She did 3 on Friday, and then she did 50. She did 50 on Wednesday.
But funnily enough, your abs felt something.
I guess that is kind of funny now when I think about it.
I'm sitting here thinking, I'm not even sure I can do 1 toes to bar, but I'm sure if I did multiple, my abs would be like, hello, what the hell's going on?
Oh God. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just that doing those two in the video, which I posted it today on my Instagram. You can watch it if you want. I just posted the whole video today. At the end, after the toes to bar, I was like, oh, that's such a relief. Like, it was just raw footage of my whole thought process with the whole thing. It's pretty funny. But yeah, then we got on the GHD. I was like shaking on the GHDs. I was so nervous. Like, but he just slowly, I held the band first and just did the whole thing. That was really, really scary. But then when I did it, it was like, it felt okay. I had a little bit of the burning, but nothing out of the ordinary from moving and doing other stuff. So.
And I think what is a fair conclusion to take from that is that Lisa had spent 6 months doing really, really well and working with Nancy
and progressing
and doing really good stuff that allowed me to walk in and just go,
I know.
Okay,
you got the fun job.
I got the fun job, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's just in like 2 months post-op where you're like,
the foundation was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the work had been done already.
Yeah. I saw Nancy about once a month, and this is what blows my mind though, really, like really with the surgery, is like, you need help. If anything, even if no one works on your scar tissue or helps you, because I couldn't breathe in the one, like I was just so tight and I was just trying to relax and, you know, getting cues out with that. But like, even if it's not for the physical stuff, like just having someone touch your body, talk to you, feel like you have some kind of plan, make you feel safe. Like sometimes I would be nervous, I'd be feeling things and I wasn't know if I'd be okay. And Nancy would just check everything out and just tell me I was okay. Like stuff like that. Like nobody's getting that support after a surgery like this. And
I'm so glad you're saying that, because we almost never get referrals post abdominoplasty. And I've like worked with anyone, and I'm like, because the patients that I've worked with have usually been the ones that I've known from before, and they've really needed it, like really needed it. And I think, why is it not a standard referral? Even if, as you say, like 1 or 2 sessions, like I don't see them that much, but the guidance, the reassurance,
yes,
you know, it's really, you're right, it's so needed.
It's so needed. And she's seen people that have had issues with them, but she's never seen someone right out of the gate. So that's the other problem, is people always see the people with the issues too. And so then that gives them kind of that's hard, you know, where sometimes I feel like physios can get kind of like they're anti abdominoplasty, you know what I mean? Like, what can we do to avoid the surgery? Which, okay, who wants a surgery? But like, you know, I think also they've seen some of the horror stories too, you know, sometimes. I don't know. That's true.
So
yeah, I was just thinking, a couple of clients that I'm thinking off the top of my head just did so well with abdominoplasty. It was absolutely what they needed. There was one lady I remember in London, and she's about 5 foot tall. She had twins. you know, huge separation, and we did so much rehab, and it was in a physio clinic that had a lot of Pilates, and because she was an ex-ballerina, so this woman, like, so strong, and her movements were beautiful, and you know, she was a fabulous rehab candidate, but she just kept having recurrent hamstring strains. And when she wanted to go for a run, and we're just like, what the hell's going on? And it was like, oh, maybe it's to do with maybe it's to do with the diastasis. And then anyway, so she had the surgery, she rehabbed beautifully, and she was like, you know, just had any back issues, hamstring issues, everything just kind of disappeared, because suddenly it was just that, you know, she could develop some tension around her trunk, and you know, she did fabulously well. But yeah, so I haven't had many horror stories, thankfully. I don't know about you, Anthony.
No, the ones that I know about, you know, because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
The ones that I've been involved with have all been great, and you know, I got to watch their surgeries and got to check on them post-op, and yeah, they've been fine. And the reassurance is important. The progressive overload is important. It's been good. It's been good. I wanted to ask a question of you, Lisa, because I want to know what you think. Okay. We haven't talked about this, so I don't know the answer.
Ooh, okay.
The topic of this podcast is diastasis, surgery. Is it the easy option? What do you think?
It's such an interesting question. Because I had a moment in Philly after I got my double muscle up in front of everybody. And I was like, should I get the surgery? Like, I was just crying. And I was like, asking, like, baby, should I not get the surgery? Like, because I was just starting to feel like I could do stuff, and just want to go through it all again and go through all the rehab and all the scary unknown and all this stuff. Like, I started second guessing it. Like, do I want to do this? But then I realized I did. Like, and I'm 38 now. I just want to be done with this crap and like feel good. And my goal was to be done with this by 40, which I'll, you know, be done earlier than 40, but I wanted a very realistic goal of like feeling really good.
You've been planning your party for a while.
And I have a big 40th birthday I've been planning since I've been 31. Like, I haven't actually been planning it, but we've been talking about it. This is less about me, even though I am a Leo and an only child, and more about I want to get everybody I know together in one room because I love people and being connected. So, but yeah, I mean, this is the thing that I see in the surgery group that makes me feel like women don't go into surgery thinking it's going to be easy, but go into it thinking it's going to be an easy option, because I see people that still have back pain and can get rid of it. Women that aren't completely flat for whatever reason, whether the surgery failed, whether they're 3 months and they're still swollen, and no one explained to them that the swelling can last a really long time, and they're upset because they're swollen, they don't look good at 3 months post-op, which for me is like nothing. 3 months I was like, I don't know. They are recovering slower than they thought they would. They are unhappy because part of their skin is left that looks like the bottom of my stomach. I posted something about this. I still have my stretched out skin because he told me when he pulled it down, like the top here would be down here, so some of those stretch marks would still be there. I didn't give two shits. I was like, tell me how you're going to suture me. But I understand that some women do. I'm not poo-pooing that. I'm just saying I didn't care. But women didn't realize that, and they're upset, and they talk about having sex with their husbands and their skin sagging, and they feel disgusting in that part. And I'm just like, so I think that they go into this thinking it's going to be the easy option to fix pain, which may or may not happen. And I think they go into the easy option thinking they're going to look perfect, but they don't look perfect. And I think that that is why I want women going into surgery in a different headspace, because they come out and they're upset sometimes, not all the time, but that's what I've seen. And it really makes me sad.
So I think this, even like just doing this podcast, will be so helpful, Lisa, for people to have a better understanding of, you know, that it is a really big surgery and it takes a long, long, long time. And because it sounds like the communication between the surgeons and the clients is perhaps not always good in terms of setting expectations, explaining how long this process, it could take 2 years, it could take, you know, longer. But, you know, it's not necessarily going to look perfect. This is probably what it's going to look like, but some people have this and some people have that. And, you know, like just explaining all that in more detail sounds like it's very much needed. And the offer for counseling as well, maybe.
Yes. My surgeon overall was good, because he told me, he's like, don't do the surgery until you're ready to just let go. Like, it's like he knew me. Like, this guy freaking gets me, man.
He had your number.
So he was spying on me before I came in here. He could probably tell from me just being in there. But he's like, you know, and he said, with recovery, it could be 4 days or 4 months. He said, everybody's going to be different. You don't know what you're going to get, just how you're going to feel and, you know, whatever. So he was good. He was very good with what he told me. Yeah. I don't think everybody gets that from what I've seen just in the group.
It sounds like you're really lucky. Yeah. Anthony, did you have any other questions? I'm just cognizant of the fact that we've just like chatted for an hour and a half. Did you have anything else you wanted to ask Lisa?
I found it hard, this podcast, to come up with questions because Lisa and I spend so much time talking anyway.
Yeah.
That's why we always laugh. It's because when you ask a question, it's like, oh yeah, we spent a little bit of time on that before. I think that what Lisa has done has been fantastic, but also because Lisa has sacrificed time and money to ensure that she has got the best support, whether it's childcare, whether it's moving to her parents' house for, how long were you at your parents' house for?
2 weeks.
Yeah, she went to her parents' house for 2 weeks and deliberately chose not to be at home with her family to maximize the likelihood that, you know, 2 toddlers are not going to jump on her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting a babysitter to help out so much.
Yeah, we have full-time nanny, 3 weeks.
Yeah. You know, going around, like willing to travel to get consults. Mm-hmm. and you know, she interviewed 3 different surgeons. What might not have been clear was that she went to 3 different surgeons before she chose one surgeon, and then still went back quite a few times to that surgeon to make sure that all her questions had been answered. And so it's not like Lisa decided, well, yeah, I don't like how I look, I'm just going to go for the surgery and sort it out and that'll be it. Like, it's been meticulous in its preparation, in its thoughtfulness. And I kid you not, Lisa has worked the hardest. She would be in the top 1% of people who have worked the hardest to conservatively get her body to do all sorts of stuff. So, you know, surgery was not the easy option. And, you know, Lisa's only kind of touched on it. So I want to outright ask you, now that I've spoken about it, I got my question back. Why, can you summarize, why did you, in the end, decide to get surgery? Why did you first decide to get surgery? And why did you decide to finally go through with it?
When I first decided to get surgery, I felt like I needed it. Like, it was like I can't heal on my own, I need surgery. That was like my thinking.
And there was some of the fear around that too, right? So do you want to talk about some of that fear of
like
exposure?
Yeah, I mean, like and from the start, I will say, if my kids kicked my stomach, they're like kicking organs sometimes, depending on, I mean, it is not comfortable. I felt like as long as I could do muscle ups at the gym, but like I couldn't wrestle with my kids. Like because I was afraid they were gonna, I mean, this thing is sensitive. Like it was not good. So there was that. And, I still had the fear of getting a huge hernia or making the hernia that I thought I had worse. I mean, there's a lot of that. Very worried. Like in the consult, I was very concerned about that. Like, because that creeped me out. I don't know. But then as time went on, I realized, like that's why I realized like I could not get the surgery right now and I'd be okay. But ultimately, I don't want to look like this, and I don't want to worry about my super thin fascia or hernia that's there. Like, I just want to be done with this. So, yeah. So same reasons, but a little bit different as time went on.
Yeah, your mindset calmed down. A lot less fear-based. A lot less fear-based.
A lot less fear-based. Yeah, like it wasn't like, I better go get this now. Like it's just like, all right, it's time.
So Lisa, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your story, and I love your honesty in it. You're obviously very open to telling how you feel at all these different stages, sharing your pictures, sharing your videos, and I think a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I think people having seen your journey has been like really helpful for a lot of people. So thank you for being so open and honest about everything. And maybe just to finish up, if you were going to talk to someone tomorrow who is thinking about having the surgery or has decided to make the surgery, to have the surgery, what tips would you give them?
Ooh, so many tips. I won't go on forever. I think if I had to do like my top 2 tips without going into a blog of 5 pages long, that's 5 pages long, it would be to get a lot of different consults, because you don't really understand, you don't know what you don't know. Like, and even the surgeon I saw that I didn't like, he was the one that told me I should be doing sit-ups. And I'm like, man, screw this guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then later, what am I doing? Sit-ups. And I didn't like him because he wanted to use some mesh and stuff, and I wouldn't have used him. But like, I still got that out of it. And I realized that guy kind of knew what he was talking about, which was such a good learning experience for me. So, I think at least 2, but I say 3 or more, like, because you learn, because I was learning when I was there too, which is what I liked. So definitely, and not settling, like not settling and really finding someone that you feel good with. And the second part is just to create your team well before surgery. So your PT, a therapist, whatever people you need to support. Because even with a team of amazing people, Nancy, Anthony, friends, Bree, like all these people, it was still as hard as shit. And like, I had the best support I could have had and the best surgeon. So, like, I just can't imagine people just alone and without that. But finding a team also takes a lot of work. So it's just, don't rush. Unless there's a medical reason, just don't rush into it for those 2 reasons alone.
No, that's really good advice. Thank you so much. Any closing remarks, Mr. Lowe?
No, except that it's fun, and it was fun watching people go up to Lisa at the course, on the weekend, and I'm meeting a celebrity, and like,
I'm like, okay.
It's weird, isn't it?
You don't know you're famous.
It is weird.
Well, it's because people know what's going on in your life, and you've never met them before.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It is. Yeah. It is a funny thing. It's cool. I mean, that's the good part of social media. Sometimes we get down on it, but overall the connection is a really cool thing.
Yeah. No, it's been fantastic. Thank you for sharing your story, Lisa, and thank you for letting me be a part of your journey. And it's an absolute privilege to go on the journey with you. And if people can always reach out to all three of us, really.
Yeah.
Like all three of us are open for that. Where can people find you on the socials?
Yeah. So my Instagram is at lisa.marie.ryan. And then I'm also at Facebook. My handle on Facebook is at Lisa Marie Ryan 22 for my business page. And then my website is www.lisa-ryan.com.
Awesome. We're all going to stalk you now. Not really. Brilliant. Thank you so much again. I've thoroughly enjoyed that talk. I think interview. It's been really, really interesting. And I think so helpful for people who may be going through this or thinking about going through the surgery, just to have someone's personal experience and hearing that journey. And I just want to finish by saying that if anyone, we've had a few emails from people asking about particular topics or things that they want us to cover. We love hearing that stuff or feedback. Share the talks far and wide if you can, but definitely email us if you have a topic that you want us to cover, because we love talking to people. We love talking to really smart people, don't we, Anthony?
We do. We love learning. So and also bringing out the personal experience. It's been fantastic. So
well, thank you. I've realized, even just in the past couple months, how much I need to. I mean, I like to talk, so that's easy. But how much I really do purposely have to want to try to get my story out there to help other people. Now that I also have the surgery component as well, and so I need to do it. So thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you very much.
Well, that's it for this episode. Be sure to hit like if you enjoyed the episode and leave any comments or questions below. We'd really like to hear from you.
If you haven't already hit subscribe, please do so now so that you can be kept notified when we release our next episode.
Otherwise, thank you for listening, and we look forward to having you back with us for another episode of the Women's Health Podcast.